Good to go.
Okay. I'd like to call the October 24th, 2025 meeting of the County of Oswego Industrial Development Agency to order. It is 8:48. And first item on the agenda, let's do a roll call. See who's here. Tim, can you handle that for the board?
Nick McNeely,
Present.
Pat Carroll,
Here.
Mary Ellen Chesborough, present. Peter Clark,
Present.
Mark Greco, here, and so, and Gary Standing. Here, we are all here. Do the quorum, sir.
Okay. Kevin or Austin, can you go over?
Sure. In terms of guests and staff, we have Austin Wheelock, CEO of the IDA. We have Kevin Lamontagne, CFO of the IDA. We have Kevin Caracoli, General Counsel of the IDA. Nate Emmons, Staff of Operation Oswego County. Karen Purwitt, Staff of Operation Oswego County. And then we have two guests, Brianna Lane and Jamie Galanti from Grossman St. Amour.
Okay, thank you. Minutes from the September 30th meeting.
I'll make a motion. They'll need to be amended.
Okay. What's the, we need a second on that?
I'll second.
Mark?
I've just looked amended. Gary is not mentioned as being present or absent. So I just wanted to,
Oh,
Gary was here last month, correct?
Yes.
So I wanted to add Gary to the present list.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Think, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Notice the meeting was in the Fall Times on the 10th. And item number 3, is the audit for fiscal year ending 7/31/2025. And we'll hand this over to friends from Santa Moore.
So if I could just, Jamie's gonna do an abbreviated or some summary of what was presented to the audit committee. I suppose how I should put that, and be open to any questions. You all have the packet in front of you that was prepared with a full presentation. That'll turn it over to Jamie.
We have completed our audit for the County of Oswego IDA for July 31st, 2025. We met this morning with the audit committee and discussed our required communication, discussing the responsibilities of both management, the board, and the auditor. We discussed any adjustments that we had as part of the audit, the contents of the financial statements themselves, including estimates that appear. We discussed the adjustments, which primarily include increasing construction progress by $142,000 for some design costs that will be against the expansion project. Also, the main change to the financial statements themselves would be the inclusion of the New York State DOT Railway Project Development Pass-Through Grant. You'll see that reflected as an increase to grants receivable, grant payable, grant income, and grant expense for $664,000. This is a pass-through grant that is just passing through the County of Oswego IDA and has no County of Oswego IDA has no costs in the project itself. So there's no profit and loss impact. The financial statements themselves show a loss of about $303,000 this year. That's primarily driven by increase in some project costs, an increase in estimated potential bad debt expense, and a loss on the sale of property for the transfer of the Nestle building themselves. We saw an increase in cash reflected by decrease in loans receivable last year. The loans that were given out. There's an increase in project assets as there are some construction progress for the expansion project. And there was a new draw on the IRP2 loan for loans payable for about $48,000. Overall total net position decreased about $300,000 with about $17.6 million at the end of. In terms of our findings, we didn't have any material weaknesses. For our significant deficiencies, in years past, we've discussed the significant deficiency around segregation of duties. On the changes that were made for procedure as a finding this year, which is really a testament to the work that the business office and the hospital has done to redistribute workload, look at processes and procedures, and evaluate, review, and oversight. The one finding that we do have is due to review of debtors' financial information, which is a compliance requirement. The agency is missing about 36% of updated original standards. That is actually down 12% from 2024, which was missing about 48%. So a significant improvement was made in 2025. So of the financials that were obtained, about a quarter of them are recent, for the last 1 or 2 year financial information, and the majority are between 3, 4 or older. Obviously, the management has made changes and modified procedures, both during the year and subsequent to year end to improve collection.
We got any questions on the audit?
So, if I could, I really want to compliment the staff. Again, I've been here for a number of years, heard a lot of these. We have been hearing similar concerns for years and years and years. So, a lot of credit goes to Kevin, Austin, and the rest of the staff to handle and address these things. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken. Anything else? So this. The audit was approved by the audit and sent to the full board for approval by the full board this morning. So we're gonna look for a motion and a second to approve the audit.
I'll make that motion.
Mark, second. Tricia, any comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Nice job, ladies.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, staying in the realm of financials.
See you both later.
Figure out.
You may do a respirator.
Thank you.
Thanks. Item number 4 is gonna be Kevin's wheelhouse, I'm assuming.
Yes, so a lot of financial information in this meeting. Just covered last meeting, we looked at a 1-month financial statement. Of course, now we're in the second month of our unusually ending fiscal year. I don't have a lot to say this time, Nick. Being only 2 months in, there isn't a whole lot of activity yet. If we jump forward in this packet, it's double-sided printed, so it's the P&L starts on the 3rd printed page on the back, page 1 of 2. All right. Just wanted to bring your attention really to revenue. As we've communicated to the board before, from a project standpoint, we've been very busy. We've had a lot of activity in this board, but we see a pretty light revenue so far in the year. That's normal for us. I'm sure you've heard me say that. There is some seasonality in our closings generally. We have a number of projects that are queued up or, in various stages of getting ready to close this fiscal year. So we don't see any major concerns with revenue at all. In fact, it should be a strong year. But if we look at last year, we did have 2 projects close in September, which was NET and Dyes, a straight lease transaction for their new factory, and Dow Drop also for their new build factory at the industrial park. So we started last year with an unusually strong closing. But there's a handful that are working their way through the process, and Kevin and others have done some follow-up last year.
We've approved 4 projects in the last 2 months, and
Yeah.
so they're moving on their way
We
toward
all know
closing.
some
plus
the
the
agenda,
multiple.
we had 2 meetings in August, and so
Okay.
there's plenty in the pipeline. Out of that, there's one other comment really no other comments for me. I'm happy to take questions.
Anybody?
Yeah, the legal and accounting expenses are double what they were last year for this time. Is it timing?
Yeah, I looked at that. We do have some of our general counsel's bills in there. It appears really probably to be timing, but honestly, there has been quite a bit of activity with Kevin's office in the IDA too. So I can't give you a quantitative answer on like run rate really, but it seems that billings have been, we've been using Kevin quite a bit for a number of issues. So coming in late last year and early this year. Not to complain, but it's
No, it's all right.
But there's the time, like audit bills and things, it isn't that, it's more on the legal bill side.
And then the difference in the income too, like one is significantly different from where it was last year. Application and admin fees.
Yeah, and that's the last year we had NET and Dye and Dowdrop, which both closed and generated a lot of closing fees at closing for IDA projects for the pilots package. We just haven't had any this year.
We've had a couple of straight lease transactions that were teed up and ready to close
Yes.
in time for this report, but they didn't happen. But they'll likely happen this month, so next meeting you'll see an increase in fees, particularly related to a solar project and perhaps one other.
Any other questions? I have a motion and a second, right, already on this?
No.
No, I'll get a
I'll make the
motion.
motion.
Mark,
Second.
second, Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, annual report.
Yeah, I can handle this. So also in your packet, you will see, in this, between the audit and the annual report, this is part of our, Public Authorities Accountability Act reporting that we have to do within 90 days of the end of our fiscal year, which is coming up at October 31st. So part of this is we have to put together an annual report, which then becomes part of that, not just for that, this also goes to the county to explain and describe some of the things that we do. Did it a little bit different this year. One of the things I wanted to do is this document over time had sort of grown and became, 5 pages of bullet points, and, really wanted to sort of streamline, highlight the main activities, but streamline some of the other things that exist in other places that don't necessarily have to be in this document. So we wanted to make it a little bit more of a easier to digest document for everyone, but also still meet the needs of what has to be in there. So just going through, it has mission, has the naming legislation, has the board organization, committee stuff. One of the main real change that we did is we took about 4 pages of bullet points and we consolidated that down to 1 page, which similar to what we do for Operations Oswego County, do it more as a letter, explaining some of the goals, and then also getting into the highlights, and then kind of talking about going forward. So I think it captures what we were doing before, but just sort of consolidating it down and highlighting. Going beyond that, we have everything we need to in terms of reporting on meetings we held, public hearings. We have very detailed in terms of the project assistance and sort of that project life cycle that happened over the fiscal year 24-25. Also we've identified all the consent actions taken by the board. We've shown all the loans and leases that were paid in full. So when we were actually going and talking about that in the audit, this kind of breaks that down and shows to you here, and you can kind of see that distribution of pilots. One thing that with the IDA and the county on that, there is one pilot that doesn't follow that model of having a pro rata share, which is the 9-mile pilot. So if you actually look at that and say split 90-10, it's not actually split 90-10. It's on most of the pilots, but not on the 9-mile pilot, which makes that big sort of, that's why it's only 0.61% of the total collected. Going on from there, I think, the page 6, is just taking some of the statement of revenues and expenditures similar to what we have in our audited financial statement, and just putting this all into one document that really helps when we submit our Paris reporting. They have everything in one place to see and makes it easy for them. One other change I'd want to show, so this is something we also have to do on a yearly basis. We have to show the real property owned by the agency. There was one property that came off, so that one real property disposed of during fiscal year was that Nestle manufacturing site that was transferred back to the city of Fulton to support the 2 development projects, but also a rezone project. So it was actually three projects related to that. And then the material pending litigation, that was something that Kevin provided to us, is that there's no material pending litigation that's of concern to the organization. So that is in the last page, we just have to identify that our code of ethics, all that is on the policies on the website, and but anyway, to me, this is one of those compliance things that we need to do, but also we wanted to sort of make the document a little more streamlined and aesthetically pleasing for people who do review this, including the county. So anyway, that is the document. We went from 12 pages to 8 pages and, so
Scott?
any questions on the document itself? Or any, oh, there is a, what, did we have, I see one typo in here on the very last page under approval and certification, FY. It says October 24 and it says 20245 right out of there. So get that corrected.
You have a question, Jeff?
I was just wondering if it makes sense to add like a little like asterisk in the financial statements to say, kind of explain. I mean, people look at that and they think, oh, it's a loss of the year, is that like a negative reflection to organization? It's really not. It's just a couple of like specific little things that
Yeah.
don't really straight.
Language in the manage.
Wonder, yeah, be something that maybe you put it in there to explain, because if you're sharing this and sending it out,
Mhm.
where it's kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, this document obviously is different than an audited financial statement. There's very real required thing. Wanted to put just something under that, just explaining one sentence. I don't think that's
I think it's important. I
Yeah.
look at things and I see loss and like, oh, that stinks, but I mean, obviously, there's things that happen in here that the average person isn't gonna know.
Yeah.
So if they look at this, it's, I think something that explains that
There's
you
a-
actually invested dollars to expand obviously in our community, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think
I agree.
it's just a thought that be just a little like.
That's-
Sentence.
If it's okay with the board, Kevin and I can come up with a one sentence to add in there as just a sort of a context, I guess.
Mhm.
Sentence, doesn't change anything materially related to this, but it provides that a little bit of context and,
There is a two-sentence statement in the management discussion analysis part of the audit, but I don't think it does a good enough job selling the Nestle site thing, whereas,
Right.
it's an investment in the city of
Yeah.
Hope, really. And so I think we can, one or two sentences.
Well, you could also, you put it in your bullet points on what is the third page here,
mhm,
just kind of referencing it.
yeah,
I mean, it's an action of this board, it's an action that we did investing, it would maybe make sense to highlight it.
Well, it's not just the Nestle site, right? We're talking about
Yeah,
this due to money we spent on studies related to
there's
Yeah.
highly EDF type expenses that weren't capitalized, like housing study, like some of the early engineering work in National Park and.
Right.
And Lake Ontario Coastal Park and Minetto and all these things we're
Yeah, but
doing.
that's that, I mean, really, honestly, you don't know that it's gonna happen, but you have to account for it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Mhm.
you know, every investment isn't gonna be perfect, but there are investments they have to make.
mhm. Okay,
I think you highlight the investments and the Fulton and in the industrial park and
Mhm.
any studies maybe that we've done as part of economic development for the county as what the major reason for it. And
Yeah.
I would leave the bad debt part out of it.
No, I agree with that. No, I'm saying I totally agree, but that's a majority of what the loss is.
Yeah.
So let's capitalize on the bigger parts of the expenses.
yeah, I mean, the other one though is the project development costs that went up significantly but and not every single use of fund is gonna have a direct return, like the housing study, it was a $75,000 cost, but it was worth it to do that, and it's not gonna lead to a direct return on investment. So,
Same thing with like, loss on sale of property, 80,000, it's gonna be like, why'd you lose money on your property, right? Well,
yeah. I could, under the words says real property disposed fiscal year, I could just put another sentence there. We'll support, 2 project developments at the site.
I mean, I think just explaining it so
Yep.
that whoever understands that it's not a negative reflection of organization, if it's actually just
Generating income exceeding the.
exactly.
Well, and they're all things that were board actions taken. It wasn't like a, right.
Well, okay, so.
So, okay, we can, but I would say, due to the timing of this having to be submitted by 10/31, if there was an approval with those changes, then we can make those changes.
I'll make.
Okay, second? Carrie? Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Nice job.
Yeah, I really like the format of that.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
And I want to thank Alex for taking all the crazy things in my head and turning it into a document that's easy to read. It's not an easy thing to do sometimes, so, or a lot of times.
And with that, it looks like we need to move into executive session. Evan, could you tell us why?
Yeah, related to matters pertaining to the financial circumstances of a individual or corporation, as well as discussions concerning pending or threatened litigation,
Okay,
all consistent with Public Officers Law, Section 104.
can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Move.
Mark, second.
Second.
Al, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion